Time for another Ben 10 video, gentlemen. Today we're going to be counting down the top 10 darkest moments from the first 4 shows that were absolute nightmare fuel to all of us silly 12-year-old boys. Listen, the Ben 10 franchise is generally a pretty fun and lighthearted bunch of episodes, but here and there, the subject matter delved into some pretty awesome dark stuff, and this applies to all 4 shows. What can I say, I just miss when cartoons didn't have to pander to kids to be able to sell their toys. You gotta love plots with needless graphic violence or gross out, or plots delving into themes of mental disorder or sacrifice, and Ben 10 happens to have a lot of those here for us today. So enough introduction, let's get into the top 10 darkest moments from Ben Frickin' 10.
It's okay. I'm here to help get you down.
I don't want to get down. I want out.
Ghost Freak may not be my favorite alien in Ben 10, but his arcs and plot lines can be incredibly enjoyable when handled right. In the Season 2 episode Ghost Freaked Out, Ghost Freak escapes the Omnitrix and reveals his true form, but he still has a weakness of being impervious to sunlight, which makes him try to merge with Ben to revert himself to his powerful form. He also takes over Gwen's body, which can be pretty freaky and scary, but the dark moment from this episode is the nightmare clip from the very intro of the episode where Ben turns into Wild Mutt to save a kid stuck in a tree. But out of nowhere, he starts talking with his Ben voice as Wild Mutt, the kid turns into Ghost Freak, and the tree grabs Ben in its claws and sort of eats him, until Ben wakes up and starts screaming. This intro nightmare is great foreshadowing to Ben's somewhat fear of Ghost Freak, and the level of significance this villain can bring, especially as it relates to how powerful he really can be in messing with Ben's mind. It's also pretty bizarre to see Wild Mutt talk, and also to see the kid turn around with a pretty messed up ghost eye.
You'll have to take it from here. I know you can do it. I believe in you. In all of you. Grandpa!
The second season of Alien Force is my favorite season of the entire franchise, but this episode happens to be from my second favorite, which is the first season. Ever since the start of the series, the team has been on the hunt for Grandpa Max, who's left them clues to assemble a team and giving them hints as to the DNA alien predicament. In the episode Max Out, we follow the gang as they heal Gwen's brother Ken from a xenosite and infiltrate a hybrid base, where they're shipping trucks full of xenosites around the country. The gang reunites with Max as he's fighting a hybrid commander, who unfortunately grabs hold of Max and nearly beats him. The odds seem stacked against the team here, as Max is at a disadvantage, and the hybrids are sending thousands of xenosite eggs around to infect humans everywhere. And that's when Max heroically pulls out an unfocused null void projector, and against Ben's fair judgment, and in a moment of self-sacrifice, self-destructs the projector, seemingly killing himself and the entire DNA alien base in the process. We thankfully see Max again in later episodes, as it's revealed he went to the null void, but this clip of Ben yelling at Max to not leave is super sad and dark to watch in the context. While some say it was rushed to kill off Max 2 minutes after seeing him again, I think it's an absolutely beautiful moment that was absolutely scarring because of how much it meant to Ben to see his grandpa again.
Though I am here for Azimuth, I wish to destroy him with his most precious creation.
Ben 10 Omniverse may have been more heavily on the comedic side of things, but the dark moments shine through like no other shows did. The amazing music coupled with serious themes never ceased to amaze, and scenes like this one from Showdown Part 2 where Ben loses feedback to Malware is such a prime example of that. In this moment, because of Ben's arrogance and overuse of feedback as an alien, Malware hacks the Omnitrix, removes feedback from the selection, and murders him in front of Ben. Ben's totally crushed reaction as well as feedback's deteriorating face are horrifying to watch and make for some pretty dark subject matter. This scene also started the chain of events that led to another amazing scene where Ben gets feedback back, in a moment I've discussed in my other Ben 10 Moments video.
Pity, after you died, he was the planet's last hope.
No. Dead? Me?
Yes, dead? You!
Time Heals is another episode similar to How Long Is Forever and Same As It Never Was, 2 similar apocalyptic episodes I compared a few videos ago, and I had originally planned to do a 3-way comparison with this episode as well, but ultimately this episode went at the story a bit differently. After Gwen creates a time travel spell to stop Kevin and Ben from hacking the Omnitrix, thus turning Kevin into a monster, Paradox warns Gwen not to go through with it because the consequences would be too grave compared to Kevin's ill-fitted appearance. She doesn't listen to him, however, and stops Kevin from going through with it. Then when she comes back, she discovers a tyrannical nightmare world run by Hex as the supreme ruler. The dark part of the episode comes in when she discovers with Paradox what a mistake she's made. Kevin is now Charmcaster's rock slave, Ben has been captured in their prison after he fought bravely, and Gwen herself was murdered in the battle. Her realization that she's dead in this world freaks Gwen out, and she vows to make things right, going and freeing Ben in a very heartfelt scene that makes Ben seem really sad and innocent. Overall, this moment was pretty freaking dark, and Gwen's obituary being basically presented to her was pretty freaky to watch.
Do it! Finish me! Come on! Let me join my family! Do it! Do it!
Possibly the most depressing kind of victory is when the enemy begs for their own demise. That was the case for prisoner 775, who was trapped by Colonel Rosum in Area 51 after he crashed on Earth in exile from his homeworld where his mate and child had died in a revolution. And so, prisoner 775 describes the horrific conditions that the prison was like at Area 51, treating them inhumanely like scum rather than prisoners or aliens. And so he vows to murder Colonel Rosum's family to even the odds, but is stopped by Ben, his ultimate wild mutt, who, by the way, the only cool thing about him is that he can now talk in this really awesome growly textury voice. But as the prisoner holds Colonel hostage and nearly murders him, the line he says always sticks with me. Rosum tells him his family had nothing to do with this.
Neither did mine.
Ben grabs a hold of him, and that's when he begs to be killed to join his family. The performance from the voice actor is also amazing, pleading to be executed so that he can join the ones he unfairly lost, and so he can escape the world that he has to be subjected to now. It's just messed up, and made Prisoner 775 one of the most sympathetic and deep villains to come out of this show.
What are you doing?
Coming to my senses.
I personally think Darkstar's introductory episode is his best in the franchise, and it also includes one of the darkest scenes. As he sucks the life out of his high school girlfriends to gain power, he is able to gain the attention of Gwen, who likes him a bit more than Kevin here, and is tricked by Michael into getting one of these scary-looking tattoos that sort of mind control her and allow Michael to absorb her mana energy. And because Gwen is so powerful as an Anodite, she becomes ultra powerful to climax the episode when he completely sucks Gwen dry of any energy. Please don't take that out of context. In this scene, we see Gwen's usually smooth and bright face completely desaturated and wrinkly, completely dry of any energy to fight Michael's trap, as he's getting more and more golden and powerful. Not even Ben and Kevin are able to stop him until Gwen herself takes her energy back and turns Michael back into an ugly piece of garbage. And I just love the touch they added of Kevin breaking his plumber's badge. Such a minor thing, but I love the way it looks. Jesus Christ, did you ever think they'd outright murder Ben, Kevin, and Gwen all in one scene? In this episode, Charmcaster has killed thousands of beings in Ledger Domain to be able to resurrect her dead father. Here, she succeeds almost perfectly in killing Ben and absorbing his life energy, then shooting Kevin after he sacrifices himself for Gwen, then beating Gwen and taking her life energy as well. This crap was messed up, bro. They do come back after her father is absolutely horrified at what Charmcaster has done to bring him back, and so he dies again so all these innocent beings can be alive again. But honestly, it's super messed up how Charmcaster just obliterated these three for her own selfish or even somewhat sad motives. All I can say is the raw emotion in these clips as Ben, Gwen, and Kevin all basically lose their lives is super dark and chilling to watch.
I'm Ben Tennyson, wielder of the most powerful weapon in the universe. I stopped the Hybrid invasion. I defeated Vilgax in hand-to-hand combat. And I've beaten the Forever Knights more times than I can count.
Aw man, how can you be a Ben 10 fan and not gush with sheer joy when you hear Ben's badass speech against the Forever Knight leader in this scene when he threatens the Knights? In this episode, the Forever Knights have imprisoned some aliens, which really pisses Ben off, so he turns into Ultimate Spider Monkey and beats the crap out of one of their leaders. Then he turns back and gives an absolutely amazing speech, basically gloating about his achievements. But the delivery from Yuri Lowenthal and just the look of loss in the Forever Knight's face is just so satisfying, especially as a guy who's never liked how hyped up the Forever Knights were in this franchise, when they're basically just pawn characters like the Krang Bus in TMNT 2012. In this moment, the Knights finally get the lecture they deserve, and this speech also just makes Ben look like a massive badass in my opinion. The way he holds up the Ultimatrix and the camera zooms into his face as he threatens the Knight with death is just priceless. And when the leader tells his troops to stand down, you just know that Ben is in total control.
You folks okay?
We're fine now.
Here it is. I've already reviewed this episode in a short, and it is by far the darkest episode of Ben 10, but one particular moment still has its darkest episode beat by a long shot. But before we get to that, let's talk about the dark moment from this episode where Nesmith murders Dr. Purvis and several other innocent people in front of Jennifer's face, like the driver who was checking up on them. These scenes of pure evil on Nesmith's part were never really seen on Ben 10 up to this point. Usually if a bad guy killed someone, it was through some scheme, or the victim was related in some way to the plot. But the people Nesmith murders on this road trip to his headquarters orders, or just innocent people who assist him in his quest to change his face structure, and other people who just pull over to make sure he's okay. And he blasts them to dust. We also see all this from Jennifer's perspective as she comes to be nonchalant about all this evil. This ties into the whole Stockholm Syndrome argument surrounding this episode, and it absolutely fits into these dark scenes in particular. Again, I've talked about this episode before, and I'll link that video in the description, but overall, this episode may be the darkest, but there's still one individual scene that has us beat.
Ben, you promised we'd try it my way first.
Yeah, I lied.
Yup, who didn't see this coming? If you see my Ben 10 Hot Takes videos, you already know I talk a whole damn lot about this scene, and there's a lot of reason for that. It is freaking awesome. One of the most enjoyable and satisfying scenes to watch in Ultimate Alien, if not I'd say the entire franchise. After a half season of build-up in terms of chasing Agrigor, defeating Agrigor, and chasing Kevin and trying to beat Kevin, this final straw battle is all it boils down to, so this better be damn good, right? Ben and Gwen had this character clash in the episode about being sympathetic and trying to reason with Kevin through Gwen's method, and being aggressive and taking Kevin out once and for all before he hurts more people through Ben's. After Gwen fails a bunch of times trying to find Kevin's good side, Ben knows it's necessary to take him out for good. He pushes Gwen aside as he says that epic line,
Yeah, I lied.
and blasts the living margaritas out of Kevin Ethan Levin. He almost finishes the job until the yin and yang of Gwen's morality comes into the picture, and thankfully he spares Kevin, being able to save his life afterwards. Honestly, this entire fight scene of Ultimate Echo Echo, the coolest looking and sounding alien ever by the way, pushing Gwen's overly sentimental attitude aside and just blasting the crap out of Kevin, is absolutely dark and just incredible to watch every time in my opinion. And that's what earns itself the #1 spot on this list. And that was the top 10 darkest moments from Ben 10. Did you agree with my list? Are there other moments I forgot to mention or left out? Which one's your favorite? Tell me all that in the comments down below. Be sure to like and subscribe to support me. I usually say dislike as well to leave me some criticism, but the geniuses at YouTube remove dislikes, so how about just share it and make my day instead? With all that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you beautiful ladies and jellyfish next time. Shalom!